new data says that workers are happier than they've been in decades. Because I've quoted for years that we've seen for decades a high percentage of American workers disengaged. That doesn't mean they hate their job. It just means they're not engaged. They're just kind of going through it. And they're just going through the motions, and they're grateful for the check. So they're not in a place of rage or anger or anything. It's just that's the way they view work. And sadly, most people around the world see work as something I got to do. I don't have to love it. I just, if I can make a good living and I'm not miserable, fine. That's what most people have as it relates to an expectation for their job. All right. Well, so this is very interesting. Job satisfaction, I think this is a key word, satisfaction. Job satisfaction hit a 36-year high in 2022. And the study revealed that there were two effects of the tight pandemic labor market that is driving job satisfaction. Wages went up, so people were making more money, and work flexibility increased. Obviously, with a lot of workers working remote or hybrid. Okay, so you're removing commute. And again, I understand why a lot of leaders don't like the hybrid or even the remote model. I understand. And I don't disagree with leaders' suppositions on this that, chemistry's better, culture's better, collaboration. I absolutely agree with that. But I can also acknowledge that people can work very effectively remote and hybrid. Okay. So we have to look at this and realize that what's behind workers, and I'm just saying this for leaders out there who may be struggling with this and you're still wrestling with this, and I think it's important for you, even if you're not in a leadership position, to understand why is remote and hybrid work so popular? It's not because people want to be lazy. It's not because people want to steal from their employer by getting paid to do less. That's really not it. It is about autonomy. Period. It's about autonomy. Okay? The human spirit longs to be free. Period. Leave it at that. That's not a political statement. It's not a spiritual statement. It's just I'm going to call it a biological statement. The human spirit, the way humans are wired, we long to be free to make decisions how we want, when we want, where we want. It's just who we are. So the nature of, I could work from a coffee shop today. I could work at the house today. I could go in. What makes hybrid and remote work attractive is not a desire to be lazy and eat ice cream. And I make jokes about that sometimes, but I'm joking. But let's call this out. It's autonomy. It's freedom. Last year, 62.3% of U.S. workers said they were satisfied with their jobs. This is an all-time high. That's the number. That's up from 60% in 2021 and 56% in 2020. So when you look at data like this all the time, let me just tell you, and I'm no data expert, but I look at enough data to tell you that when something goes from in 2020, only 56% of U.S. workers were satisfied with their jobs, and it jumps up to 62%, that is a large number. That 6%, when you look at it that way, doesn't seem like a lot, but that's a lot, okay? Because we're talking about millions of people. So you can just look at that graph right there. Now, I guess since they've been measuring it, so you look at 2010, and this is coming out of a prolonged recession, it was down in the 40s. Now, who are the happiest people when they looked at this? It was people who voluntarily switched jobs during the pandemic and individuals working in hybrid roles. And again, hybrid work, some in the office, some remote. Interesting that men's satisfaction with their job was higher than women in all 26 aspects of work. They looked at 26. I don't have time to go through all 26 aspects that they but you can look at a few right there. Sick day policy, bonus plan, mental health benefit. If you're watching, you can see this. Communication channels, promotion policy. So those are that's just a few of the 26 aspects of work that they then polled to go, okay, where's your satisfaction? Here's what scored the highest for everybody when they said, my satisfaction level in these aspects, and these were the most popular. Commutes. And again, that's because, you're seeing a lot of remote here. People going, I'm not driving anymore, baby. I'm saving gas. I don't have to get in the rat race. Then you saw people happy and satisfied with their coworkers. I thought this was a very positive sign. The physical environment of their workplace and job security. Those were the aspects that scored the highest on satisfaction. The study was done by an organization called the Conference Board, and their senior economists are predicting that we will, as a U.S. economy, enter into a short, shallow recession later this year. And I agree with that based on everything I'm reading, for whatever that's worth. And I've been saying on this program that I think that's what's going to happen. I also think that when we look back at this year, we're going to find that right now, as we sit here moving into the summer, that we're probably in a technical recession now. It's just not big and bad and ugly. They are predicting also that unemployment will rise to 4.4% in the first quarter of next year, 2024. We are at 3.6 or 7% right now off the latest number, somewhere in that range. Again, crazy low unemployment. All right, so predictions are unemployment is going to jump into the 4s. Again, that is not a horrific number, but certainly something that the Fed is trying to do to cool the economy. However, anytime I mention things like this, I don't ever want to unintentionally be this fearmonger and play on your emotions. So let me also say, hear me loud and clear, while unemployment has ticked up a bit and jobless claims has ticked up a bit as we looked at the May jobs report, here's what also happened. We saw the economy create over 300,000 new jobs. So the opportunity to work is there. It's everywhere. Now, of the 26 aspects that I talked about, that I mentioned earlier, the biggest year-over-year increase in satisfaction came from the work-life balance aspect and workload. Now, this is they surveyed this, and so this was going on in 2022, and now the surveys have come out. The question is, has that changed? Because you've had a lot of employers reverse the remote policy. I mentioned, I believe it was on yesterday's show, that if you looked at LinkedIn's job postings, the remote-only postings have dropped dramatically. And a lot of companies, even the big tech companies who led the way on we're going to extend remote work, they're now saying you got to come back in, certainly at a hybrid level at the minimum. So the question becomes, will workers' views change as many of these remote workers or hybrid workers are forced to come back? How will they feel about the in-person or toughened requirements if we do go into a recession and we see more layoffs, which is inevitable when you get into a recession, no matter how big, bad, ugly, or small and nondescript it is, you'll happen. So here's why we share all of this. Satisfaction should not be based on just my location and how I'm doing the work. Satisfaction ought to be about the work itself and the environment you're in, how you're treated. Pay attention to that.